So let's just get right into it. You've got this parrot, right? And you absolutely adore them. They're family. But then one day, it feels like almost overnight, their whole personality just shifts. That sweet, cuddly bird you know and love is suddenly acting, well, weird. And honestly, it's super frustrating and can even be a little heartbreaking for so many of us who own parrots. And if that sounds familiar, you are so not alone. I mean, this quote right here from a real parrot owner just nails that feeling of confusion and, frankly, hurt. It's a question you see popping up in forums all the time, especially during certain times of the year.
It really is like a switch just flips, isn't it? The bird that used to beg for head scratches is now lunging at your hand. The one who was a quiet little companion is now just screaming their head off. And this sudden change can leave you wondering, what did I do wrong? But what if I told you it has nothing to do with you? Yeah, the answer isn't about your bird suddenly deciding to be mean. It's all about biology. We are talking about hormones. Your parrot isn't trying to be a jerk, I promise. They're just responding to this incredibly powerful instinctual urge that is completely natural. And understanding this, that's the very first step to getting your sweet bird back. Okay, so let's break down what's actually going on in their little bodies. At its core, hormonal behavior is basically the seasonal tidal wave of chemistry. In the wild, it's kicked off by things like longer days and tons of food, all the signals that say, hey, it's the perfect time to find a mate and raise a family. The only problem is, our living rooms are, well, not the wild. And this is what that hormonal surge looks like when it happens in our homes. Does any of this ring a bell? The non-stop screaming, the sudden biting, the way they guard their cage like it's Fort Knox. Maybe they start trying to build a nest in a dark corner. Or, and this is a big one, they regurgitate their lunch for you, which, by the way, isn't them being sick, it's them trying to feed you as if you were their mate. And this right here, this illustrates a super important point. We humans often get the signals completely mixed up. See, scratching their head and neck, that's just friendly flock behavior. It's what they do with anybody. But petting them on the back or under their wings? Whoa. To a parrot, that's not just a friendly pet. That's sexual. You're basically telling them you're interested, and that leads to a whole lot of frustration for them when you, their human, don't, follow through. So, that brings us to the next big question. How are we accidentally sending these signals in the first place? Well, a lot of it comes down to the environment we create in our own homes. We are pretty much telling our parrots that it's breeding season all year round. Seriously, just think about it for a second. Without even realizing it, your daily routine, the way your house is set up, it could be like a giant flashing neon sign for your bird that says, it's time to mate. So let's pinpoint some of the biggest triggers you might not even be aware of. Okay, first up, nests. In the wild, parrots are cavity nesters. They're always on the lookout for dark, cozy hidey holes in trees. Well, in your home, that little space under the couch, perfect nest. That Amazon box you left out, prime real estate. Even those fuzzy little happy huts look like a dream nesting cavity to them. And letting them hang out in those spots just screams, build a nest here. Next, let's talk about how we touch them. You might want to screenshot this slide because this is your new best friend. Think of it as a petting map for your parrot. The green zones, head, neck, feet, those are generally safe spots for a friendly scratch. But the red zones, that's the back, under the wings, the belly, the tail area. Petting them there is basically a romantic advance, and it's going to send their hormones through the roof. And this one is huge. Sleep. In the wild, a parrot's hormones are all about daylight. Longer days mean spring is coming. So when we keep our birds up late with us, with all the lights on, we're creating an artificial spring that just never ends. The key takeaway here is they need at least 12 hours of solid, quiet, uninterrupted darkness every single night to keep their internal calendar on track. But it's not just light and location. The next major factor is something we control every single day, what we put in their food bowl. Diet is an incredibly powerful hormonal trigger, and it's one a lot of owners tend to overlook. I absolutely love this analogy because it's so true. Just like we crave junk food, parents are naturally hardwired to go for high-energy, high-fat stuff like seeds and nuts. And in the wild, that makes total sense. You gotta load up on calories when food is everywhere so you have the energy to raise chicks. But in our homes, that abundance is, well, constant. And this chart just shows the difference so clearly.
A diet that's mostly seeds is basically hormonal rocket fuel. It's like feeding a toddler nothing but candy. It's packed with fat and calories that just scream it's time to breed. The ideal diet, on the other hand, is way more balanced. It should mostly be a good quality formulated pellet with a big helping of fresh veggies and saving those seeds and nuts for just rare treats.
So the big takeaway on diet is to avoid foods that are super dense in calories, fat, or simple carbs. And you also have to pay attention to how you feed them. If you're offering warm, mushy foods from your hand, it can actually mimic that act of regurgitation between mates, which is only going to confuse your relationship and, you guessed it, stimulate those hormones. Okay, I know that was a lot. We've gone through all the problems, so what's the solution? Well, the great news is you have a ton of control here. So let's walk through a really clear 5-step action plan to help calm those hormones down and bring back that sweet bird you love. All right, this slide is your roadmap. Let's run through it. Step 1, fix the diet. Get them on a good pellet with fresh veggies. Step 2, enforce that strict bedtime, 12+ hours of quiet darkness to reset their clock. Step 3, become a nest buster. Block off any of those dark, tempting spots. Step 4, remember that petting map. Stick to the green zones only, head and neck. And finally, step 5, redirect all that crazy energy, give them lots of new toys to shred and foraging puzzles to solve so they can use their brains and their beaks on something constructive. And look, probably the most important thing here is just to be patient. Your bird isn't broken, and neither is your relationship. This is a really challenging phase, for sure, but it is just a phase. By managing their environment and just respecting their biology, you can absolutely help them get through it. Your sweet, loving bird is still in there, and they will come back. So I want to leave you with this one last thought. Unlike cats and dogs, our parrots are not domesticated. They are wild animals, just a few generations at most from the jungle, now living in our houses. And this whole issue of hormonal behavior really makes you stop and ask a bigger question. Are we doing enough to understand and respect the wild instincts that still drive them, or are we just trying to make them fit neatly into our world?